What's up, everybody? This is Jimmy with Trade Decoded. It is, what is this, August 7th. Yeah, August 7th, 2025, and the market's still open. It went from a pretty solid green pre-market to a relatively red, could have made a lot of money if we just held on to our puts day. Today I took two trades. The reason for that is because the first trade of the day was a winner, but not much of a winner. Did achieve my daily goal, but I think the inner gambler side of me just wasn't happy with it. So I decided to take another trade, that I called out, and a lot of people took it with me. So let's go ahead, take a look at the charts. But before we do, consider buying my book. There's good information in there, and join our Discord. Oh, there's another thing I want to touch base on. A lot of people are telling me that there is no such thing as ADD. There definitely is such thing as ADD. I'm going to show it to you, but it's only available if you're using Thinkorswim. And if you're using Thinkorswim, it is $ADD. Okay? If you're using TradingView, it is, you go to a new tab, whatever you want, search for ADD. Never mind, you don't do it there. Just open up any chart. Let's go here. And type in ADD. And make sure you change it from stocks, which is not going to give you the right ADD, to all. And what you're looking for is NYSE advance minus decline. And that will give you the ADD that I am constantly referring to in my charts. Let me get these off of here. My Palantir trade crushed it. Bought Palantir, 372 shares of it. March 3rd of 2025. I'm up 118 or 119% on that right now. Congrats to the Palantir crew that bought with me back then. It was a good buy. Anyway, let's get into the charts and take a look at what we did, why, and all of the things. Now, this morning's pre-market was more sideways than I tend to like. And as a result, I spread out the call put scenario pretty far. And when I say pretty far, it was like over $1 range between. We had our call line at 572.31 on the Qs and below 571.05. What we wanted to see was a close above this line up here because, well, there's no price action above that on the day. Now, we got some wicks over there, but that's not what I consider price action. I want to see price acceptance above these lines before I will get into them with a breach versus a close. That is a question that a lot of people ask. And just because you wait for the close doesn't mean it's going to work either. I want to be very clear about that. Okay. However, if we popped above it once and couldn't stay above it, then I'm not willing to take the risk that is an aggressive entry without some other additional supporting factors for doing so, which is what got me into my first trade today. And I will show you what that trade is here in just a second if you don't already see it. So saying that, we did have a put line down here. We didn't come close to it. We had a call line up here. We got close to it. We breached. And not only did we breach it, not the only reason we're not going to get into aggressively on that is because ADD was already starting to print red. We weren't looking for puts at this point. In fact, we were trying to justify calls. And in this case, aggressiveness takes two things for me. If I'm going to get into a trade aggressively, I want to see ADD moving in the direction that I want to aggressively get into. So in this case, I want to see ADD printing green candle. I also would prefer to see Qs coming off of a higher low. Neither one of those two things were happening when we touched our call line. Okay, so I'm not going to aggressively take calls there. It's just not worth it. And we had no price action above that line on the day, so that's another reason. So no reason to take calls there, in my opinion. We rejected there, but then we pull back and we do put in a higher low. Now, with that said, we get a higher low. We put in what started to be a green candle on ADD. And again, guys, we're not looking for trend per se on ADD for the most part. We want to see what the rest of the market is doing at that particular minute to help us get in while there's momentum to the upside. A green ADD is telling us at that moment, there's more buying taking place in the market than selling. That's it. So when we're coming off of higher lows and we have a green ADD, you could have gotten into this trade a little bit more aggressively, hoping that the momentum that is not only going to take us to the resistance, but hopefully through. Now, I did take this trade here because of the higher low, because of the green ADD at this moment. And, well, the higher low was what sold it for me. So if anything, we're hoping to make it at least to resistance, which we did. If we close above it, we're hoping for the next resistance. I got into this near the upper echelon of this candle. Wasn't a huge win for me. I want to say it was a 19.49, I think it was. Hold on a second. It was a 18.49% win. I did meet my daily goal of $500 by a couple $100 on that trade. In fact, it was a $889.30 win, which is usually enough for me. But today I was feeling violent, and I felt like that wasn't good enough. So as I had explained to everybody in the group, I am willing to take another trade today. I'm just going to be a little bit less aggressive, and I want to see a specific setup before I take it. Now, we reject this line up here, ended up getting out. The SPY move was a little bit smaller than the Q's move, which is unfortunate, but sometimes it happens. But still a winner nonetheless. We pull back, and as we're coming down, we hit our put line. Well, while we were hitting our put line, we have to expect that, what happened here? Oh, we breached it. And again, we do have price action below it. This trade here, I personally wasn't taking simply because I'd already taken my trade of the day. And, I wasn't prepared for that. Now, we did see a lower high here. We did see ADD printing red. So this is an entry point, and we would have expected support here to break. It breached. It didn't close below. So if you took puts here, this would have turned into a losing trade. What constitutes as a losing trade? Well, obviously, besides losing money, in this case, if we can't get a close below that support, or we can't make a lower high and continue down, even though ADD was looking good, you would have wanted to stop out of this trade no later than this lower high right here that got you in. So that trade there would have been, and I should put a thing here, would have been a good entry for what we would normally look for. And it would have been a losing trade because, well, not every trade setup works 100% of the time. Forgot to put this arrow here. But that is a setup that we would normally take puts on. With that said, ADD was coming down at the time. Now, we did recognize that the Qs were very, very strong throughout the majority of the day. So puts were a little bit less of something we were trying to force. But nonetheless, this is a trade setup we would normally be okay with. And you would have stopped out. Again, some people would have stopped out at this lower high that we made right here. When we closed above it, some people would have stopped out at this lower high here. But whatever the case is, you got to recognize that in that moment, it wasn't working. As we move up, we put in another higher low. This right here is a candle that almost sealed the deal for me for not wanting to take a second trade. So I had puts set up here because I was expecting this to become a lower high. ADD was still moving down. I was waiting for the Qs to get back below this pre-market high line, expecting them to move down to our put line again. This candle came out of nowhere. It was a big, fast, massive candle in the opposite direction. When that kind of stuff happens, it basically reminded me in that instance, Jimmy, leave good enough alone, take the profits you've got, and just don't put it at risk. The chart is misbehaving, or you were willing to take a risk here and it didn't look like it was going to, or look like it was going to work, and it didn't. Thankfully, I didn't have the reason for entry hit. Otherwise, I would have taken a bath on that and probably gave up all the profits that I made in the first trade, which would have been catastrophic, because then I would have been frustrated and forced another trade, and who knows where it goes from there. With that said, we did pop up. It was a higher low in the end of the day. We did break resistance. We headed up to the next resistance. However, I still have my order open for puts. And as we came down here, we put in a lower high. I said to everybody, I said, guys, I'm going to take puts. If we can get through the Q's pre-market high, I'm looking for that to go down to the put line. I said it out loud. I said it way before we took the trade. And again, we came off lower highs and ADD was still printing red. So I didn't wait for the actual breach of this line. I got in near the bottom of it. Wasn't a huge wasn't a huge advantage to get in when I did. You would have had just as much comfort getting in at the bottom of this candle when it did break than you would have if you got in a couple seconds before, which is me. Okay, so I got in a little bit before the bottom of this candle because of the lower high, because of ADD. That's an A+ setup. I'm assuming we're going to break support and at least go down to our put line. Took that trade, lasted a little less than a minute. Basically, I mean, if you count the couple seconds in this one and the fact that we got down to our target and it started to pull back, it was probably less than a minute. And that was the second trade of the day for me. That was a 29.94% win. SPY moved more than the Qs did, but nonetheless, that was my second and final trade of the day. That one paid a lot better than the first one, and I think that's because volatility was also picking up at that moment. Then we bounced off, put in another lower high, and then I said to everybody, I said, I'm not taking this, guys, but I think this is the one that carries us through the put line. We got a couple lower highs in a row. ADD started to get even more aggressive to the downside. So lower high was here, entry candles here. We're expecting to break the put line and head down to the next line, which we did. And then it also coincided with the pink line on SPY, which we don't like to hold through anyway. But since we closed below that support on Qs, we were hoping it would continue down. It closed back above on the very next candle. That would have been your stopping point in that trade. After that, we kind of just hung out and talked about other things, and the chart's a little odd today. Ultimately, it started to sink a lot. I mean, if I would have held my second puts, I would have made over $20,000 today. But hey, shoulda, woulda, coulda. I also had to sit here and babysit the trade all day, which I don't like to do because, well, I don't want to work all day long. With that said, today was a great day for some of us, difficult day for others. It's very easy to get aggressive on trades. I think a lot of us have, I don't want to say a problem, but I have a hard time, and maybe you're the same way. I have a hard time sitting in front of charts and doing nothing about it. It's very hard for me to watch the market move, especially when in my head or out loud I'm saying, guys, this is a lower high. This looks like a great setup. It's so tempting to want to jump into that. But I have to limit myself, because if I don't, things can get out of control and out of hand very, very quickly, and the wheels can fall off very quickly. I like the wheels. I like the wheels to stay on. That's for me. If you don't have day trade limitations, meaning you don't trade a certain amount or allow yourself a certain amount of trades a day, or you find that more often than not, when you continue to trade throughout the day, your win rate actually starts to decrease, which is what happens to me. And I believe that happens because the emotion from the previous trade will always continue to carry into the following trade. And as the day gets longer and the trade number gets higher, you are carrying around a lot of emotional baggage. Whether you believe it or not, it's a fact. I don't know of anybody who can trade with no emotions involved. It may not affect what they choose to do with their trade, but I don't care who you are. It's exciting to make money, and it hurts to lose money, no matter how much of it you have, no matter how much you tell yourself this is just for fun, or whatever the case is, guys. It's fun to make money. It's exciting. And when we get excited and we're having fun, we tend to want to keep that going. So we like to keep trading. But then I would ask you to start keeping track of the number of times that you continue to trade only to find that you're taking away from some of the profits that you make after your first trade or two, or how many times you're adding to it. If you are the person that can continue to trade throughout the day and just keeps winning, kudos to you. I'm jealous of you. For me, it doesn't work that way, especially when we get later in the day, because theta starts to become a real problem. And, you don't really want to be involved in that for same day expirations. But with that said, we're going to wrap this one up, guys. I hope you found some useful information in this video. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. If you'd like to join our Discord community, well, I would love to have you. There are links down below. And if you would like to buy my book so you can learn how to chart like me, so that you can learn how to trade like we do, or just start to get a bearing and an understanding for price action and how important, these levels are on these charts, because I don't care what you're trading or what strategy you're trading or, what tools you're using to trade. Price action and understanding support and resistance can help anybody with any type of trading. Doesn't matter who you are or what you do. You don't have to be in my community. There's a lot of useful information in this book that could help you become a better trader and make better trading decisions, no doubt. But other than that, I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Till tomorrow. Love you guys. See you.